Hello all and welcome to a new video. I've heard a lot of people talking about on Reddit etc that the Bell and the Eurocopter, both by Nemeth Designs, in Flight Simulator 2024 are exactly the same flight model and maybe just copy and pasted a little bit. So here we've got a side-by-side comparison of both the aircraft. So the first thing we're going to do is just a simple takeoff, rotation on the spot, little outbound flight, and then back to the pad that we took off from. So we're going to test them out and see what they're like. Now, if you have flown both these aircraft and you want to weigh in the comments down below, feel free. Now, I don't know really what I feel about this. I think it is possible that this is some sort of copy and paste job. However, I think there are some differences in the flight model for both of these aircraft where they might just be different enough to not be a copy and paste type of situation. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you do enjoy this type of video then be sure to let me know by leaving a like, comment, maybe if you feel like it, like and subscribe, tell me how you feel. But yeah, this is an interesting one for me, so I'm going to let this play out and you can have a look at both of the different aircraft in flight. Let me know what you think. Okay, so flight test number 1, we're in the Bell and we're taking off from Queen Elizabeth University Hospital from the helipad, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out a few things. Just set up this to record, okay. So what we want to do is we want to test this against the Eurocopter. So first of all we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, we are going to raise the collective slightly, no movement. Okay, so now the collective is about 25%. We are getting a lot more lighter on the skids. You can see as I'm slowly raising it, we are now in the air in ground effect at just above 25%. And as we raise that slightly above, we're into a hover, and that's about 30% on the collective. You can see we are getting a little bit of vibration as we're floating. Now this isn't going to be a particularly scientific test, however, we're going to compare this to the Eurocopter. So we're sitting here, a pretty stable hover, to be honest. Not a lot of collective. Now this is obviously, I think it's a lighter helicopter than the Eurocopter. Now let's advance it up to about 50. Okay, that's us at 50% and we are climbing. Okay, so we're in a slightly higher hover, still in the ground effect. and then we're going to go to about 75. As you can see, we are flying freely and we're out of the ground effect. Got a little bit of left rudder on there. Okay, so we're still climbing very easily. Okay, we're just going to bring it back a little bit. Bring us back to about 50% on the collective. We're still climbing substantially. For some reason the helicopter just turned around. Okay, not sure exactly what's happening right now. But let's just turn ourselves all the way back around. There's maybe some wind, potentially. Right, so there's the helipad that we just took off from. We're still climbing. Not a lot of collective input. Right, and let's descend towards the pad. Okay, so the collective is now almost at 0. And we're still not really sinking down that quick. Still about 40 knots airspeed though, to be fair, so... Okay, that's the collective is now at 0. Our way back to the helipad. Once we do this, we're going to do exactly the same with the Eurocopter. Let's probably put the eye tracker on so we can see where we're looking. Rudders are very sensitive on this. Just bringing a little bit more power in here. So yeah, that's a little bit too much. The collective is a lot more sensitive on this helicopter, I think. Yeah, look, we're back to climbing again. VRS at some point potentially here. But I think we're doing okay. Yep, there's your VRS. Okay, right, we're back into ground effect. And that is the collective almost at 0, we're still in the air. Just let the helicopter touch itself down. Okay, there we go, we're on the ground. Right, okay, so it was pretty easy to fly. What do I think about the flight model? I think the flight model for the Bell, you do tend to get off the ground very quickly. It's pretty good in a hover. A little bit weird when we were on the outbound portion. Let's test that and see what it's like in the Eurocopter. Okay, so here we are aboard the Eurocopter. the addition of the EFB is already a lot nicer. Now, I do know that this aircraft does not like to take off anywhere nearly as quickly, and there's a lot more collective input required to get off of the ground. Now, I'm going to do the same as what I did before, so we're just slightly above zero. Pretty much nothing. Okay, so let's get ourselves to 25% collective. And there's a little bit lighter on the skids, but there's literally nothing. Okay, so about 30% the helicopter pitches forwards, whereas the bell was already in the air at this point. If it's wanting to just automatically pitch itself forward, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to put a little left rudder in here to stop that from happening. Okay, so now we are slightly into a ground effect hover, and that's just under 50% collective. As you can see, it's not very stable. We're still pretty much on the ground, but we're drifting. So 50% here. We're now in the air very slightly. A lot of vibration. Well, we are in a hover. The aircraft, as I'm pulling up, it is pitching to the right, which is not ideal. Okay, so we are about 60% collective. And as we've made to 60% collective, we're now in a fairly stable ground effect hover above the landing pad. The helicopter does want to drift, as you can see, and it has sank. So the bell was a lot more stable. Now for me to get back off the ground here, it's 75% collective. It's making zero difference. There we go. We're now in the air. Okay, to get into a climb, we need to be about 75% throttle. There's a lot of vibration. As we're picking up the airspeed, that starts to ease off a little bit. So I think that, yes, they do maybe have a similar flight model, but I don't know if I can say it's exactly the same flight model. It's hard to tell. But just the collective response itself, like, it is a lot more difficult to get off the ground in the Eurocopter than it is the Bell. The rudders don't feel quite as sensitive. And I don't think you climb nearly as quickly either. Now, granted that I think that the Bell is probably a little bit lighter than the Eurocopter. At least it feels like it. It's a lot more basic. Should be... I mean, the problem here is, though, that it does pitch. When I pitch up, you can see that yaw to the right. When I pitch forward, a yaw to the left, no matter what pedal and position I have. And that's neutral pedals. So there is a little bit more involved, I think. There's a lot of yaw. Now it could be part to do with the wind. Well, let's get ourselves down towards the pad. I will say I find this helicopter slightly easier to land. So you have left pedal here, we're rotating to the right, rotating to the left as we pitch forwards. As we pitch back, we're now just turning. There are quite a lot of uncommanded movements at times, I think, which is fairly annoying. We're descending a little bit. Don't want to be doing that, to be honest. Right, we're fairly well over the pad here. I think it actually hovers a lot less good than the Bell. Like, this is a lot more challenging to get on the ground because just getting the vertical speed to stay stable is a bit of a pain. But there we go. Once we're in the ground effect though, it is actually alright. But then coming through ground effect takes quite a bit. Just let the helicopter land itself. There we go, we're on the skids. Okay. So what's different between those two flight models? It takes a lot more collective to get off the ground. The Bell actually, to its credit, felt a lot easier to fly. The Eurocopter, I mean, as much as I really like it, it was a lot more challenging. But then again, it doesn't make it a bad aircraft, it makes it just something different, I guess.